I accidentally caught my sister trying to flirt with my husband. My delicate, helpless husband immediately jumped back 3 steps and held a hairpin to his neck. I've always treated you like my elder sister, yet you dare covet my pure and untouched body. If you trap me tonight and I lose my innocence, and my wife despises me and leaves, I won't want to live anymore. He looked every bit the picture of a chaste and virtuous man ready to die for his honor. I looked at my stunned sister with sympathy. Sigh, why'd you even mess with him?
1.
After the imperial examination in the palace, the candidates gradually filed out through the palace gates. Just outside, many family members were waiting. A striking figure in bright rose red pushed her way through the crowd. Jiang Xingyan had actually arrived before me. My maid Xiaolian muttered beside me in annoyance, "Why does the young lady look more eager than you? The actual wife?" It's like her husband was the one who took the exam. Over there, Jiang Xingyan blocked the weary-looking Pei Yunshin. Clutching her handkerchief, she looked even more nervous than the examinee himself. "Pei Lang, how did it go? Do you think you'll make it into the top 3? My eldest aunt-in-law, Madam Chen, chimed in encouragingly. If it's Yunshin, he's sure to rank high. Pei Yunshin seemed absent-minded, responding half-heartedly as his eyes searched the crowd. When he finally spotted me, those tired eyes suddenly lit up. His brows lifted with a smile, and he stuffed the miscellaneous items he was holding into Jiang Xingyan's arms before running toward me. "Darling, why are you only just getting here?" I held up the food box. "I went to the restaurant and got a few of your favorite dishes. You've been at it all day, you must be exhausted. This will help you recover." Pei Yunshin's gloomy mood instantly vanished. He beamed and took the food box, then grabbed my hand with his free one, gently rubbing the back of it with his fingertips. "I knew you're the one who cares about me most." A heavy wave of perfume hit my nose, and I couldn't help raising my hand to fan it away. Jiang Xingyan seized the moment to squeeze between us, grabbing Pei Yunshin's sleeve and whining, "Pei Lang, why didn't you wait for me?" Pei Yunshin's peach blossom eyes widened in alarm. He quickly tried to yank his sleeve back, but Jiang Xingyan had a death grip on it. After several failed attempts, he lost his temper and gave it a hard jerk. "Rip!" Jiang Xingyan's smile froze on her face. My heart sank. Oh no, she's really done it now. Pei Yunshin lifted his arm and looked at the torn sleeve. His handsome face immediately darkened, like storm clouds gathering over his head. He took a deep breath. This was the brand new robe my wife had specially made for me for the exam. Sensing trouble, Jiang Xingyan silently tried to hang the piece of torn fabric back on his arm and stepped back with a stiff smile. "I didn't mean to." Pei Yunshin forced a smile, his lips curled but not his eyes. I knew that expression all too well. Every time he looked like that, someone was in serious trouble. I hurriedly dragged him onto the carriage. I had to seal him away before he caused a scene. I still needed this man's reputation to make a name for myself. I couldn't let him ruin it here. Sure enough, even after I pinned him down in the carriage, he was still fuming. From behind the curtain, he started shouting, "Are you cursed? Do you just hate to see me doing well? Out of all the creatures in this world, they still had to create one as dumb as you. No, you do have a talent. When it comes to ruining people's moods, you're absolutely unmatched." Through the gap in the swaying curtain, I could see Jiang Xingyan's face outside the carriage, dark with embarrassment and tinged red. Sigh, Pei Yunshin really only has one flaw. He holds grudges, and when he snaps, his mouth gets vicious.
2.
Early March brought the full bloom of spring. Tender green willows peeked from the eaves, fresh and bright. Joy filled our home. Red silk was draped across the beams. Pei Yunshin had placed first in all 3 stages of the imperial exam and made it onto the honor roll. According to tradition, he was now appointed to the Hanlin Academy as a scholar official. Officials and classmates streamed in to offer congratulations. The residence was packed with guests and lively as ever. Standing at the gate to welcome them, Pei Yunshin wore a red robe and black court cap. The outfit accentuated his refined features, making him look even more elegant and noble. So handsome, it was hard to look away. but he looked strangely downcast and kept glancing back at me. In the end, he couldn't resist. He pushed through the crowd and tucked the champion's hair ornament, one he'd been fiddling with for a while, into my hair. Lowering his head, his long lashes hiding his eyes, he murmured in a trembling voice, full of grievance, "Wife, you still haven't praised me." I touched the imperial gift pinned in my hair and gave him a sincere smile. "My husband really is the most amazing man in the world. All those pig trotters I made you eat weren't for nothing." Pei Yunshin's expression shifted, clearly remembering the nightmare I put him through before the exam, forcing him to eat pig trotters every day because of the pun, pig trotters for top honors. Just then, a sweet, drawling voice cried out, "Pei Lang." My cousin Jiang Xingyan sashayed over, her eyes full of longing as she stared at Pei Yunshin. She shoved me aside with her hips, nearly knocking me off balance. Thank goodness Xiaolian was quick enough to catch me. Before I could say anything, Jiang Xingyan twirled dramatically in place and then fell to the ground, whimpering as she held up her slightly scraped hands. She tearfully looked at Pei Yunshin and said, "Pei Lang, she definitely didn't mean to push me." I was speechless. Who was she trying to fool with that pathetic act? Is her brain okay? But before I could react, Pei Yunshin's face turned pitch black. He grabbed my hand in a flash, scaring the life out of me. He's not crazy too, is he? Jiang Xingyan gave me a smug glance, her eyes practically shouting, "See?
Pei Lang still cares about me."
Pei Yunshin dragged me far away before pointing at the fallen Jiang Xingyan and scolding me sternly. "You need to stay away from people like that. If she gets struck by lightning one day, she might take you down with her." Me. Jiang Xingyan. 3. On Pei Yunshin's first day officially starting at the Hanlin Academy, I personally escorted him there. Jiang Xingyan and Madame Chen also called a carriage to follow along. After seeing Pei Yunshin, who kept looking back with every step, enter the academy, and watching until his figure disappeared completely, I lifted my skirt, ready to return to the carriage. But Jiang Xingyan blocked my path. I was planning to visit the tea house to meet with the manager and had no patience for her antics. I turned to walk around her, but Jiang Xingyan suddenly grabbed me. She shot me a sideways glance, snorting disdainfully through her nose. "Jiang Wanhe, you're no longer worthy of Pei Lang. You'd best go back to our hometown with my mother today and return Pei Lang to me." I found her words laughable and gave them both a sweeping glance. "Elder sister," I said calmly, "Pei Yunshin is my husband." Jiang Xingyan raised her voice. "You still plan to cling to Pei Lang?" Her eyes were full of contempt. "Jiang Wanhe, Pei Yunshin was meant to be my husband from the beginning. If I hadn't given him up back then, you would never have had anything to do with someone as extraordinary as Pei Lang in your entire life. Being able to spend 4 years with him was a blessing earned over 8 lifetimes. Now that I'm back, it's time you return my husband to me." Madame Chen also looked at me reproachfully. "Exactly, Wanhe. If it weren't for your sister giving up Yunshin, how would you be living so well today? You should hurry up and divorce Yunshin and return those farmlands, shops, and storefronts to Yenner. Let's return everything to its rightful owner." She reached for my hand, pretending to be gentle. "Don't worry, dear niece. Your aunt will make sure you find another fine marriage." I was truly stunned by their shamelessness. I curled my lips. "If I recall correctly, Auntie, it was you who looked down on Pei Yunshin's poor family background. He had no parents left. Meanwhile, I was just an orphan girl with no one to rely on, yet I had the good fortune to secure a marriage proposal even elder sister couldn't dream of. You were jealous and forced us to switch the engagement." I wagged my finger slowly, as if explaining to children. "Everything I have today, I clawed out from the dirt myself. And the man Pei Yunshin has become, that's thanks to my efforts, too." When the Xie family collapsed, elder sister was the first to flee, leaving the sick and elderly behind. Everyone scorned her for it. If not for grandmother's dying wish, the two of you would be begging for scraps on the street by now. Jiang Xingyan glared at me with such hatred it looked like she wanted to eat me alive. "So what?" she hissed. "Pei Lang was always meant to be mine." I suggest you ask for a divorce yourself, or I'll tell Pei Lang everything about how he switched the engagement. He's sure to divorce you. I brushed past her without even a glance. Oh. Then go ask Pei Yunshin yourself, see if he agrees. Stepping onto the footstool, I turned back and looked down on the mother and daughter pair, who looked about ready to explode.
I'm the one feeding you right now.
That's me giving you face. Don't be shameless. I must be stupid, really. I actually tried to reason with people whose brains were purely decorative. 4. After blowing out the small oil lamp, I tidied up the account book and prepared to bathe. On my way past Pei Yunshin's room, I suddenly heard voices arguing inside. Who could he be arguing with this late at night? Don't come any closer. I stopped in my tracks. That was Pei Yunshin's voice. I walked to the window and peeked through a crack. Pei Yunshin was still in his official robes, standing straight with his back pressed against the wall, completely cornered. Across from him stood Jiang Xingyan, wearing a flimsy robe that barely covered her. As she moved coquettishly, a large swath of white skin was exposed, round and tempting. My brow twitched violently. I had only joked about her earlier today, but I didn't expect her to act so fast. She was already trying to lay hands on Pei Yunshin. Jiang Xingyan leaned down to undo his belt. Pei Lang, a night of passion is worth more than gold. Pei Yunshin looked like he couldn't believe what was happening. His face turned green with panic. Suddenly, he pulled a golden hairpin from his chest and held it against his pale neck. Take one more step and I swear I'll kill myself, he shouted. He looked like a noble maiden about to martyr himself to preserve his chastity. Me. Jiang Xingyan's hands trembled and she backed off immediately. Pei Lang, don't be rash, you'll hurt yourself. Pei Yunshin clenched his teeth and shut his eyes. I've always treated you like an older cousin, and now you lust after my pure and untainted body. If I lose my innocence tonight, and my wife despises me and leaves, I won't go on living. Jiang Xingyan pouted, her snowy shoulders trembling with grievance. Pei Lang, I don't believe you feel nothing for me. We were meant to be husband and wife. It was that venomous Jiang Wanhe who schemed to tear us apart. Oh ho, speaking ill of me now. I immediately pushed open the door and cleared my throat. So late at night, what urgent matter brings elder sister to my husband's room? The moment he saw me, Pei Yunshin seemed to find his courage. He waved the hairpin like a sword, scaring Jiang Xingyan into stumbling back, and took the chance to dash toward me. He stepped over the threshold and hid behind me. Then, emboldened by my presence, he pointed at Jiang Xingyan and complained, Wife. She tried to harm me. Me. Cough, I saw everything just now. Like a delicate flower, he clung to my arm. Wife, I'm scared. Oh, I know you're scared, but have you seen your build? You could probably stuff me in a sack and carry me off.
5.
Jiang Xingyan's face twisted for a moment. Pointing at me with teary eyes, she said, Back then, I was forced to marry in her place. You were supposed to be my husband. She stole you from me, ruining our fate. Pei Yunshin rolled his eyes. So, what you're saying is, my wife had sharp eyes and good judgment. She saw through my poor, penniless scholar act and realized I'd make it big one day. So, she gave up a noble marriage alliance with the prestigious Xie family to force a marriage swap with you? I'm the imperial top scholar, handpicked by His Majesty himself. Don't try to fool me. Jiang Xingyan choked on her words, her face turning pale as she shot a venomous glare at me. You must have twisted the truth in front of Pei Lang. Pei Lang, you have to believe me. She gathered her sheer shawl and tried to chase after him, but failed to look down and tripped on the doorstep. She fell flat on the ground, as if performing a grand bow to the two of us. Sitting askew on the floor, she looked up with glistening eyes. Pei Lang, even if you won't abandon your wife, I'm still willing to be your concubine. She had no idea that while half her face still looked delicate and pitiful, the other half was covered in soot. When Pei Yunshin didn't move to help her up, she weakly reached out to him. Pei Lang. Veins throbbed on Pei Yunshin's temple as he hid behind me, letting loose with his sharp tongue. Stop calling me that. It's bad luck. One peilang after another. Do you think you're entitled to call me that? If you're hurt, go call a doctor. What are you calling me for? I'm no healer. Just go already. With how minor your injury is, if you don't go find a doctor, your body will probably heal on its own anyway. Jiang Xingyan's eyes rolled back as she fainted from sheer anger. Pei Yunshin growled. Wife, should we just bury her? The woman on the ground suddenly shot upright. I'm awake. Throughout the entire scene, I hadn't said a word. Let's all disperse. Before she left, Jiang Xingyan turned back, reluctant to go. Her eyes swept over Pei Yunshin from head to toe several times before she sighed. Pei Lang, wearing that at night. Are you trying to seduce me? Pei Yunshin was dressed in his formal scholar robes, his slightly upturned eyes glistening with moisture. The light traced the arch of his brows, glided down the bridge of his high nose, and fell onto his rosy lips, just enough to make a heart tremble. I couldn't help but swallow. Come to think of it, I turned to him and asked suspiciously, Why are you still dressed up like this at home? What are you trying to pull?
6.
After sending that living nightmare on her way, I flopped into a chair and opened the ledger to take a break. Pei Yunshin stood against the candlelight with his head lowered, making it hard to see his expression. Only the tips of his ears were burning red. He murmured, Wife, I passed the imperial exam. I'm the top scholar. I flipped a page. Yes, my husband is amazing. Scoring top honors in all 3 rounds is definitely something to brag about. But maybe you don't have to remind me every day. Suddenly a shadow fell over the ledger. I looked up and saw his eyes, slightly red. Do you not love me anymore?
Great.
Here we go again. Pei Yunshin carried himself like a poised gentleman in public. Who would have guessed that at home, he was a clingy, dramatic crybaby? I took a deep breath, closed the ledger, and asked patiently, Why would you say that? He leaned down, his damp hair brushing my shoulder, carrying that clean, crisp scent unique to him. He stammered, We've been married for 4 years, and we still haven't consummated the marriage. My mind went blank. I didn't even register what he said until a while later. He got anxious. Tears welled up in his eyes, and his voice turned shaky. You're not planning to back out, are you? I knew it. Women are the most heartless creatures in the world. And you, Jiang Wanhe, are the worst of them all. I should have never listened to your sweet talk and married you in the first place. You promised me on our wedding night, once I passed the exams and became the top scholar, you'd consummate the marriage with me. Now I see it was all lies to fool me. Oh, that promise.
Right.
Now I remember. In all our 4 years of marriage, we had never truly shared a night as husband and wife. On our wedding night, he swore that unless he passed the exam as the top scholar, he would never cross the line with me. I had to admit, this guy had some serious self-control. Every time we kissed or cuddled, his face would turn crimson, and no matter how much he burned underneath his robe, he always managed to hold himself back at the last second.
All right, fine.
He played the long game. But as a passionate, blooming young woman, how could I just blurt it out? I had no choice but to clench my teeth and endure it too. I even started breaking out on my forehead from the frustration. And now he was still going on. A man only has so many years of youth. I gave my best years to you, only for you to toss me aside like old shoes. If I don't matter to you, then don't think I'll step aside either. I won't let any little vixen take my place. He rattled off a long list of my supposed crimes. The more he spoke, the more lost I felt. My last thread of sanity made me quietly raise my hand. Can I at least explain myself? He covered his ears. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I had no choice but to wrap my arms around his waist, tiptoe, and gently wipe his tears away. Looking into his eyes, so full of grievance, I sighed, hooked my arms around his neck, and kissed his soft lips. Between our breaths, I whispered a sweet complaint. You're such a handful.
7.
Early the next morning, Pei Yunshin dragged me out of bed and helped me, sore and aching, to sit at the table. While he was cheerfully ladling out a bowl of porridge, Madame Chen showed up with Jiang Xingyan, whose eyes were so swollen they looked like walnuts. She was clutching a handkerchief, sobbing as she tried to kneel before me. Tears streamed down Madame Chen's face without warning. "Wanhe, for the sake of your sister's reputation, let her at least enter the house as a concubine. A woman's chastity is her life. You can't just watch her die, can you?" I hesitated, looking troubled. Honestly, I didn't believe Jiang Xingyan would resort to suicide so easily. She'd abandoned her broke husband and family just to come here and cause me trouble. But if something really did happen to her, it'd be a mess to clean up. Before I could even think of how to respond, Pei Yunshin turned his head away dramatically, looking heartbroken. His eyes shimmered with unshed tears as he bit his lower lip and muttered, "Fine, then I'll die." Then he picked up a length of white silk and headed straight for a tree, ready to hang himself. A crowd of servants rushed forward to stop him, wrapping their arms around his waist and lifting him off the ground as he flailed his limbs and yelled, "Let me go." "Hey," I just hesitated for a second. I quickly raised my hand and swore, "My sister's reputation won't be ruined. Everyone in this courtyard is one of us. No one will ever mention what happened last night. You've seen it yourselves. My husband clearly can't accept her. And I can't just watch my husband hang himself either, right? Auntie, please don't make things harder for me. I'll prepare a generous dowry for my sister and, personally, make sure she marries into a good family." Madame Chen opened her mouth to speak again, but I cut her off. "If anything happens to my husband, this household will collapse. And then, you and my sister will have no one to rely on and nowhere to go." The mother and daughter had no other choice and returned to their room, full of resentment. The morning had turned into total chaos. With a throbbing headache, I rubbed my temples and waved for Xiao Lian to prepare the estate outside the capital. In a few days, I'd have the two of them move there. Only then did Pei Yunshin come down from the tree, teary-eyed. I brushed the dust off his robe and coaxed him gently. All right. It's your day off today. How about I take you to Jinyu Pavilion for lunch?" He gave a soft snort, which counted as agreement. I was just about to breathe a sigh of relief when, halfway through that sigh, a commotion broke out at the front gate. A servant from the outer courtyard came stumbling in. "Madam, Her Highness the Princess is here." The princess? Among the emperor's 3 sons and 2 daughters, the eldest princess was the most beloved, clever, and capable since childhood. She was even allowed to participate in court affairs, an unprecedented honor. Madame Chen and Jiang Xingyan also came out of their room to see what was going on. Madame Chen clutched her handkerchief anxiously. Why would the princess come to her house? Jiang Xingyan ran out excitedly, lifting her skirt and sneering at me. What else could it be? The only person in this house who could catch the princess's eye is obviously Pei Lang. She brushed past my shoulder disdainfully and whispered in my ear, "Jiang Wanhe, if I can't have him, then neither can you."
8.
Pei Yunshin's handsome face scrunched up in panic. He quickly tried to explain, "Wife, I've never even met the princess before, never spoken to a woman alone. I'm completely loyal to you. Relax. I believe you." I wasn't worried. The princess had a good reputation and wouldn't do something as outrageous as forcing herself on someone. And if she really was here to steal my man, then worst case, I'd just run off with him and disappear. I straightened my clothes and went to greet her. The princess arrived swiftly, her steps brisk and full of authority. She was stunning, with sharp brows and a regal air that screamed nobility. Madame Chen and Jiang Xingyan quickly went forward to pay their respects. Xingyan couldn't stop talking, probably saying how she'd always been against my marriage. The princess narrowed her long eyes and looked at them in confusion. Why would 2 outsiders object to a couple who are clearly in love? Without sparing another glance at their darkened faces, she walked straight to me. "You must be Jiang Wanhe." She didn't even look at Pei Yunshin standing next to me. Though puzzled, I still bowed properly. "Yes, I am." She reached out and helped me up. "No need for all that formality. I'm here to discuss a business deal with you."
9.
This year, the North was hit by a drought, and food production had taken a sharp dive. On top of that, unrest had broken out in the northern regions, so the national treasury had tightened up in preparation for war. There was simply no spare money or grain for disaster relief. The princess had come with a simple goal: to raise disaster relief funds. It wasn't hard to understand why she came to me. 3 years ago, I had established myself in Yunjing and built a fortune through water transportation from the south, along with imported resources from foreign lands. I'd helped the local merchants grow rich alongside me. By now, my words carried real weight in Yunjing's business circles. If I took the lead in donating, no other merchant could reasonably stay out of it. I had no special talents, just more money than I could ever spend. After a moment of thought, I picked up a brush and wrote dozens of letters, asking Xiao Lian to send them to all my shops and restaurants. Once that was taken care of, I looked at the princess, who had already drunk 4 cups of tea in the past half hour. In 7 days, I should be able to raise 30,000 taels of silver. In half a month, another 50,000 taels should come in through the southern route. I'll personally deliver it to your residence. As a minister's wife, this is all the liquid silver I can gather right now. It's just a small contribution. I hope your highness won't mind. The princess slapped the table, beaming. I knew you were the right one. When I get back, I'll ask my imperial grandmother to light a prayer lamp for you at the temple. Your highness flatters me. I only survived by eating roots and bark back in the day. I know what the disaster victims are going through. As I walked the princess out, Pei Yunshen paced nervously by the door. When he saw her glowing with happiness, he gritted his teeth and stepped forward. Your highness, I once swore that I would only ever marry one wife in this life. The princess paused, then suddenly understood. Her face twisted with confusion. Why are you being so full of yourself? You think I have designs on you. If I were going to take someone by force, I'd take your wife. With that, she flicked her sleeve and left. Pei Yunshen stood frozen in place, eyes wide as tears welled up. Wife, the princess, she likes you. I patted his head. Cut it out. Let's go eat.
10.
The country estate outside the capital was ready, yet Jiang Xingyan and her mother still refused to move. The Jiang clan is large, but our branch is thin, just me and those 2. If I didn't settle them properly, the old men in the ancestral house would show up with walking sticks to knock on my gate. I wasn't worried for myself, but with Pei Yunshen's career on the rise, I couldn't let anyone use this mess against him. When Jiang Shengyan passed Pei Yunshen's door a second time in a skimpy outfit and, accidentally, sent crashing the birthday vase I'd given him 2 years ago, a vase he polished and sunned every other day, Pei Yunshen finally exploded. Pointing straight at her, he told me, Wife, it's her or me in this house. They've been here barely half a month and already turned our home upside down. And, you saw it yourself, she keeps trying to take liberties with my body. I sighed.
Fine.
They'll move out tomorrow morning.
No, tonight.
I won't share a roof with them another minute. Jiang Shengyan clutched her chest like a tragic heroine, tears shimmering. Pei Lang, must you be so heartless? Rolling up his sleeves, Pei Yunshen pushed her aside. Out, out, out. What feelings could I possibly have for a lecher like you? They packed. Jiang Xingyan looked back at him after every 3 steps. Annoyed at how slowly she walked, Pei Yunshen hefted her bundle himself, nearly toppling under the weight. The look he gave her fairly shouted, How much of my stuff are you hauling away? She, of course, misread it. Eyes brimming, she covered her mouth. Pei Lang, I knew you still cared. Before she could finish, he hurled the bundle outside, shoved her and Madame Chin through the door, and slammed it shut with a bang, locking it for good measure. A wail rose from the other side of the gate. 11. Disasters don't wait for anyone. I was already run ragged raising relief funds when a new problem crashed down on me. A whole line of delicate young ladies had been delivered into the residence. Xiao Lian announced them without a flicker of emotion. This is the illegitimate daughter from Assistant Minister Zhuang of the Ministry of Rights. That is a cousin from Inspector Chun of the Ministry of Revenue. And from the Ministry of Works. It seemed court officials had decided Pei Yunshen was the rising star of the hour, newly transferred to the hydraulic works in the Ministry of Works and favored by His Majesty. One sent a secondary daughter to our household, the next couldn't be outdone, and on, until my place looked like a beauty conservatory. My stewards were waiting in the study with stacks of bank drafts, ready for disaster relief. I truly had no time to house-train a flock of aspiring concubines. It was too late to send them all back, so I told Xiao Lian to settle them temporarily in the outer courtyard and left the matter for Pei Yunshan. I tallied the drafts on my abacus. If I handed the silver in early, more hungry people might live. After delivering the money to the princess's residence, I came home to find Pei Yunshan off duty, sitting in the hall, handsome face knotted with accusations he couldn't quite utter. I downed half a pot of tea. He slapped the table, and his eyes reddened in a flash. Jiang Wanhe, do you not love me anymore? Hack, hack, hack. I almost inhaled the spout. When I could breathe again, I managed. What makes you say that? He jabbed a finger toward the rear courtyard. Who are they? I blinked, then understood. Oh, those are young ladies from official families. They were sent here to be your concubines. His hand trembled as he pointed at me. You want me to take concubines? I opened my mouth to explain, but tears glimmered at the corners of his eyes. He swept the ledgers off the table. I knew it, you don't care about me at all. All those sweet words were just to keep me happy. Fool that I am, I never saw your game. In the end, I'm the only one who takes this marriage seriously. Even these wretched account books matter more to you than I do. Will someone please reign in this volatile cup of Biluakan?
Sigh.
I could only take his pale hand in mine. Time to deploy the ultimate weapon myself.
12.
The next day at noon, the Princess Imperial came to gossip with me. She said that during the morning court, Pei Yunshan reported to the emperor, accusing the officials who tried to send beauties to him of attempting to disrupt his family harmony and corrupt his moral integrity, calling them treacherous and disloyal. Those officials were so frightened they kept wiping sweat from their faces, looking pale, and one with a bad temper nearly fainted. I heard he argued his case with reason and eloquence in court, each word perfectly chosen. It was hard to imagine this was the same young lord who just last night was in my arms, tearful and worried I might reject him. What surprised me even more was that he had started a trend of male virtue in the capital. When I heard the sayings of the virtuous Lord Pei that were all the rage in tea-houses and taverns, I nearly twitched at the corner of my mouth. After work, officials invited Pei Yunshan for drinks. He always declined in one breath. I'm going home to have dinner with my wife. Even when the emperor invited him on a lake excursion, he boldly told the emperor, I must take my wife out for a spring outing. Fortunately, the emperor was a benevolent and wise ruler and did not mind. His colleagues teased him, calling him a wife's man. He replied naturally, my wife is as beautiful as a celestial fairy, virtuous and talented. If I'm not devoted to her, then who else? Once, a colleague invited him to a brothel during a festival, but he backed away 3 steps. That filthy place? I won't go. I must uphold my manly virtues. I have a wife. The colleague still persisted. The new courtesan at the Qinghuan Tower is absolutely stunning. Pei Yunshan didn't even spare a glance. There are countless beauties in this world unrelated to me, but I have only this one wife. Besides, in my eyes, no face in the world is more beautiful than hers. He didn't spare his colleague's foolishness. I remember, Brother Wang, you have a family too. You can focus on your career, because your wife manages everything at home. If she knew about your actions, wouldn't she feel heartbroken and despise you? His words made that colleague blush with shame. With his efforts alone, Pei Yunshan sparked a wave of male virtue in the court. Since then, officials' families highly admired me, saying I had nurtured a tree that gave shade to all officials' families. At banquets, the officials' wives surrounded me with thanks and asked for my advice on managing husbands. How was I supposed to know? I couldn't exactly say Pei Yunshan was a self-tamed man. Outside, everyone said Pei Yunshan was under his wife's control, and he was proud of it, holding my hand and giving me a kiss. They're not wrong. Without my wife, I wouldn't be able to live. 13. I gathered the silver coins early and handed them over to the Princess Imperial's residence. The princess neither took credit nor dismissed me but praised me highly in court. The emperor was so moved that he bestowed an official decree on me, allowing me to enter the palace to pay respects. Guests came in waves to congratulate me, except Pei Yunshin, whose face was unusually gloomy. He quietly tugged my sleeve, speaking with a sour tone. "I thought your decree would be one I requested for you." I followed the eunuch into the palace to thank the emperor for his grace. The emperor praised Pei Yunshin to me, his fondness clear, saying Pei Yunshin even taught his wife how to be sensible. Pei Yunshin said, "These were all my wife's ideas. In our household, my wife manages everything. I have no say." I never earned a single copper coin. When I took the imperial exam, I was penniless. It was my wife who sold her dowry to support my studies. My achievements today are all thanks to her. I will depend on her and protect her all my life. He shamelessly and proudly declared, "I live off my wife." The emperor smiled and said, "The whole country knows my Pei Shuesher, great scholar Pei, is a devoted husband. Seeing you today, it's no surprise." With heavy gifts, I left the palace to wait for Pei Yunshin. Outside the carriage window, a flash of red caught my eye. He must have finished his duties. I lifted the curtain and met a gentle but unfamiliar face. We both paused in surprise. I saw his Adam's apple move, and his ears flushed bright red. He quickly dropped his gaze, voice trembling, "My apologies." I smiled and handed him a package of snacks from my maid. "This is my husband, Pei Yunshin. He's now in charge of the Metropolitan Waterworks Department. Please look after him." His eyes dimmed slightly. Without refusing, he stepped forward and took the snacks, then stepped back 2 paces. "Thank you." Then he cupped his hands. "Madam's generosity for the disaster victims is admirable. I respect her great virtue." Before he finished speaking, a fair hand shoved him aside from the side. Pei Yunshin raised his eyebrows, looking displeased, and pulled down the carriage curtain to block my view. "Lord Chu, after duty, you should hurry home." He climbed into the carriage with a look of resentment, glaring at me so fiercely it made me shiver. My survival instinct kicked in. I often mingled with merchants, being careless about men and women, used to getting along with everyone. Seems like I'd struck a nerve this time. Clearing my throat, I quickly clarified, "This is Lord Chu. It's my first time meeting him." The carriage started, shaking lightly. Pei Yunshin didn't hold me as usual, fearing I'd be jostled. He opened his mouth with a jab. "You're not waiting for me, are you? You're here to see that handsome lord? There are so many talented young scholars at the Hanlin Academy, and you choose that Chu Quanking? Is it just because he's the third-ranking scholar and good-looking?" I said, "No, I'm not." Pei Yunshin said, "You actually allow other men to flirt with you in front of me." I said, "I don't." He pointed to the open snack box. "You gave the snacks I gave you to another man." I tried to explain. "I was trying to bribe your colleagues to be more tolerant and helpful to you." Pei Yunshin said, "I don't need him to be tolerant or helpful. He was like a spooked cat. Look at that man's eyes. He'd give anything to be your concubine." I rubbed my forehead. "You're overthinking. He's an official serving the emperor. He's not what you imagine." He raised his voice in disbelief. "Then should I just quit and let you be his concubine?" 14. The princess once said that Pei Yunshin and Chu Quanqing had always been at odds. Their temperaments were completely opposite, like 2 horses pulling in different directions. Chu Quanqing was graceful and calm, steady and serene. I had read his writings. His style was straightforward and skillful, earning high praise from the emperor. My little jealous husband's writings were just like him, sharp and cutting, always arguing with pointed words. From the Hanlin Academy to the Ministry of Works, he was notorious for being difficult to get along with, meticulous and exacting in his work, flawless. But in front of me, Pei Yunshin was just a sweet, clingy husband. I never knew he was so domineering in court, nor that this was why the emperor both favored and resented him. If that's the case, I'd better keep my distance from Chu Quanqing in the future. Unexpectedly, when I got home, Pei Yunshin flew into a rage and stripped every leaf off the rose bush outside my window. What a menace! I held the drooping rose in my hands, heart aching. If you're mad at me, don't take it out on my flowers. He turned away and snorted coldly, mimicking Chu Quanqing's sarcastic tone. My apologies, I shall retire. Then he slammed the study door shut. I was speechless. Resigned, I went around to the back of the house, pushed open the window, and climbed in through the sill. I thought I might twist my ankle landing, but instead stepped on a small wooden stool. When did that get there? Barely landing on the stool, I saw Pei Yunshin sitting on a small couch, his eyes rimmed faintly red, moist and shimmering. He muttered sourly, "My wife is so fickle, the new rival as beautiful as jade. When the new beauty smiles, who hears the old one weep?" I coughed awkwardly. When he looked at me, his lashes fluttered, his nose reddened, and tears rolled down his cheeks. "Why do you still care? I might as well cry myself to death, so you can find a handsome, new husband." He peeked at my face, and seeing my blank, speechless expression, he whimpered again. "In the end, it's Pei who's been wronged." I said nothing. He wiped the surging tears at the corners of his eyes roughly, voice trembling. "Even if my wife despises me, I will not leave." I stepped forward and snatched the book from under his bottom. "What nonsense are you reading every day?" Pei Yunshin reached for it. "This is my secret manual." I suddenly understood. A melodramatic quote collection. He hung his head in grievance, holding the book. No matter how many books I read, I still can't capture my wife's heart. I pulled the book from his arms with a sigh and sat down beside him. "What else can you do with your own husband? Close your eyes and spoil him." I cupped his face and gently kissed away the wetness at the corner of his eyes, revealing the tide of love swelling in them, almost drowning me. He sobbed softly, clutching the hem of my clothes, his slender fingers resting on my waist, voice hoarse and tender. "My wife. My apologies. That spiteful little rascal." 15. When Pei Yunshin's colleagues came visiting during his day off, he was with me, looking over account books and peeling pine nuts while flipping through an ancient text. I've never liked those bureaucratic accounts. They give me headaches. He couldn't stand my messy bookkeeping either, and complained it looked like worms crawling. When the servant announced guests, he offered me a handful of peeled pine nuts. I was busy reading and motioned for him to put them on the table. "I'd eat later." He grumbled. "You won't even eat pine nuts I peeled myself. Do you not love me anymore?" I was speechless. Look, here he goes with unreasonable fuss again. Pei Yunshin hated overtime and reluctantly went to meet his colleagues in the front hall. One lordly spoke urgently. "The newly built dam in Sun County has partially collapsed. Prince Huan led the construction without using the Ministry of Works plans. He drew up his own design after consulting Lord Chu from the Hanlin Academy. But now that the truth is out, Prince Huan blames Lord Chu for everything." After a few words, Pei Yunshin frowned. "Any casualties?" "Only 3 injured, all receiving medical care. But the flood season is near. If repairs aren't rushed, it could be disastrous." Pei Yunshin glanced through the screen at me and reassured Lord Li. "You need not worry about this. I'm heading to the palace to report to His Majesty." Lord Li hesitated. "But that would offend Prince Huan." Pei Yunshin shook his head. "Even Prince Huan's skills can't hide things from the emperor. The dam must be repaired. If allowed to drag on, worse damage will come." Just as Pei Yunshin left, word arrived that Chu Quanqing had been imprisoned. Pei Yunshin didn't even go home after leaving the palace. He took the Waterworks Bureau straight to Sun County. During that time, I received countless family letters. Waiting for your letters must have tired you out. I'm not just waiting to die here, you know? I probably won't last much longer. Just waiting for your letters makes me anxious. You wouldn't secretly be visiting Chu Quanqing in prison, would you? I know some people inside. I sighed and lit the stove to boil some tea.
16.
More than half a month later, one night, moonlight flowed like water, softening the darkness into velvet. Pei Yunshin stood on the steps outside the door, holding his official hat, looking up at me. Stars glittered in his eyes, and the bright moon cast pale light over his face. I wiped away the drool from sleep. He hadn't been away from me this long before. Saying he didn't miss me would be a lie. I cupped his face and rubbed it gently. Is everything settled now? He glared at me like a sulky wife. You can sleep soundly when I'm not home? I raised my hand and gave him a friendly slap. Pei Yunshin's expression was strange. He grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the street. Where are we going? I asked. His tone went up. To see a fool. We turned a few corners and met a much thinner Chu Quanqing. I asked curiously, how come you know Chu Quanqing's family so well? You've been visiting a lot, huh? Pei Yunshin was furious, eyebrows nearly flying off. Slander. You're slandering me. Chu Quanqing saw us and hesitated a moment before walking over. Pei Yunshin crooked his mouth slyly and glanced at me teasingly. Oh, my apologies. I fought the urge to slap him hard. Chu Quanqing's gaze lingered on me briefly, then he bowed slightly to Pei Yunshin. Thank you, Lord Pei, for your righteous defense that cleared my name. Otherwise, I might have died unjustly in prison. I looked at Pei Yunshin in surprise. This jealous guy could do such a good deed? Pei Yunshin put his arm around my shoulder, brushed away petals that had fallen on me, and crushed them underfoot. Thank me? You'd better not have designs on my wife, or I'd really be grateful. Chu Quanqing blinked in embarrassment. I only admire Lord Pei. Having known Lady Pei from humble beginnings and supported her to now with a wife like that, what more could a husband ask for? After speaking, he turned at just the right moment, avoiding my gaze. I've requested a transfer to Jiangnan. Thank you both for your help. If ever you need me, I will repay you in kind. Chu Quanqing got into his carriage. Pei Yunshin immediately covered my eyes with his hand, twisted my head, forcing me to meet his gaze, his eyes wide and sparkling. You still dare to look? You can only look at me, no other men. I called after the carriage. Chu Quanqing, I have a favor to ask. Take Pei Yunshin away too. Pei Yunshin pressed me into his arms, grinning smugly. No chance. You'll never get rid of me in this life. I wrapped my arm around him and sighed. What a curse.